At all.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin.
Sorry about that.
Can I ask?
That's okay. I'm glad.
And can I ask a question since we're
Sure.
asking questions? Is it okay if we take a picture of you guys at one
Oh,
point?
but yes, I think the others that we've met with have done the same thing.
Okay, so we'll warn you
yes.
beforehand.
Look,
So that
Muriel, I said to Muriel, I haven't worn my lipstick today. Look how beautiful lipstick.
You know what? Why don't we take a picture now and then we won't forget, and we can all put our
Okay.
nice smiley face on if we want to smile,
Okay,
frown, and then we can move on to business. How's that?
that sounds good.
So Jake, are you going to take the picture?
Yep. 3, 2, 1. Good. All good.
Pictures are done. Now we can get to business.
Okay, okay. So anyway, just a little background information on the coalition.
Let's introduce who's here first.
Yeah, just 1 second, Muriel. Background of the coalition. We started a number of months ago. I don't know now because we've covered a lot of business. And we started during COVID. So it's all been virtual. None of us really have met in person that's involved. We have a full board of directors. We have an executive. We have a bank account. We have incorporated. We're not going to launch the coalition till much later than what we did. But the whole issue on the top up for persons with disabilities in Canada, because of that, and you know the history on that, Ginette, we felt that we needed to intervene and send a letter to the Prime Minister, the minister responsible for disabilities in Canada. And we did that, and an excellent letter by our communications director, Muriel. And lucky enough, Ginette, Jenna Atwin, member of Parliament from Fredericton, she actually read parts of the letter in the House of Commons. So that's a big start for a new coalition.
Absolutely. My only question, do you have any money in the bank? You got a bank
Yes.
account?
Oh, sorry.
I don't need to know the amount, but you have
No.
money. You have some money in
We
the bank.
do. We do, thanks to our first fundraiser.
Not
Excellent.
much, not much.
Bingo on Zoom.
Well, that's great.
Yes. Thank you for asking that question. So now I will start with introduction. I am the chair, Brent McPherson of Coalition, the Brunswick Coalition of Persons with Disabilities Incorporated. And then I'm going to turn it over to Muriel to introduce herself and Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Muriel Petrie. First, I'd like to say what an honor it is to finally meet you. Heard a lot about you, been following your career. I am the communication director and I'm also the second vice chair. And I also look after the correspondence of the coalition. I've been in the workforce all my life, but I'm now retired and working on this. And that's about it about me.
Well, that's great, Lydia. And where are you located out of?
I'm in Riverview.
You're in Riverview. That's
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
Brent, I forgot to ask. Where
Oh
are you?
yes, I'm in Moncton.
You're in Moncton as well. Okay,
Yes.
great. Excellent.
So we're both in your riding.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, it's nice to meet you, Muriel.
I get your
Yes.
calendar.
And Caitlin, we've asked her to join today, and she will say what position she has on the coalition. But she's not a member of the executive, but she's bigger and
I feel like I am.
Yeah. Then I can even begin to say. So we invited her today, and she can tell you about herself. Caitlin?
Hi. So I am the representing the board of directors.
She's on our.
I'm a self-advocate. I've been doing a lot of work in St. John, and I have cerebral palsy and general anxiety disorder.
And Caitlin, just so Ginette knows, Caitlin actually started it, and now we are supporting that on the provincial end. She started and even have given interviews to the press, and also it has been raised in the legislature. Caitlin wants to marry, but she's disability on disability supports. And if she marries, she has the threat of losing those supports. So we're asking for policy 6.1 with the province to be scrapped. And Caitlin got us going on that, actually.
Excellent. Thank you for your advocacy and your lobbying, Caitlin, because it takes individuals like you with the guts and courage to, you know, allow us to hear your voice and for you to be out there. And politicians and policies can be changed, but we just need to make sure that people are aware of the real life consequences of exactly what is there. Before I entered politics, I was a frontline social worker, and I would sometimes be the one on Parliament Hill doing protests and demonstrating peacefully. Of course, we weren't breaking down any windows.
Not like the Capitol in the States.
No. But, you know, it's important to have your voice out there and to make sure that people that are like in my positions now, you know, understand kind of what are the challenges, because sometimes we don't go through what you go through. We don't see it from your lens. So thank you for the work that you do.
Well, thank you so much.
So anyway, moving on, one of the things we did as a coalition, number one, we talked to our stakeholders to find out what was their top priorities. And we, as a board of directors, we voted on those top priorities. And those top priorities are, number one, guaranteed income. Number two was affordable, accessible transportation, both urban and rural in the province. And we couldn't decide on the next two are were very important. So the other ones are housing, affordable, accessible housing, and disability supports. And the good news with that, because of my knowledge, I know when you're going to lobby and you're going to advocate for changes, you need the facts. So we will be making a public announcement in probably, I don't know, March, but a university in New Brunswick has put together a class with some students that have agreed part of their studies to do some research in our top priorities.
Nice.
So we're very happy about that. So we have covered a lot as a coalition in a very short period of time.
Excellent.
So that being said, our number one priority, guaranteed income, we were ecstatic when we heard that in the last throne speech of the government, guaranteed income for persons with disabilities was in it. Now, I have since heard some things since, when something was sent to me, that the Prime Minister at a town hall made some comments that guaranteed income is a good thing, but not a priority right now. And what we want to make very clear, and nothing against you, Ginette, or anyone, it is a priority for persons with disabilities in the province of New Brunswick and Canada. So saying it's not a priority, I don't think that was the right words to choose. And I feel if it was passed in the House of Commons in a throne speech, that it should be priority. And I understand that the committee, CUMA, has had some preliminary discussions, and Wayne Long, we actually met with him a while back, and I asked him, as a coalition, what could we, where could we, inform you, the politicians and et cetera, what persons with disabilities really want and need? And he said, well, you could his words were, give testimony to the HUMA committee. So, as you know, I know she was a colleague of yours, Karen Ludwig, who I know well. I reached out to her just to ask her, okay, can you tell me what's our first step? And she said, well, okay, our first step would be writing a letter, probably to Pat Finnegan, where he's the Atlantic Caucus chair, and along with Wayne Long, CC'd. And now I heard from your assistant that we probably should reach out to all, like we have, our board is made up of people from around the province. that we should also include them MPs. Because we want to give testimony or evidence to that committee about guaranteed income in Canada. So this is where one of the reasons you came in, Ginette, and I know your career too, and I know as far as someday, I hope your aspirations are on another angle, actually. But anyway, that's for another day. But I felt, and Ginette and Karen said, you should reach out to your MP, which I did. And you're here today, and we're so very thankful for you being here. Maybe you could help us what we need as far as what kind of evidence regarding around guaranteed income to give to that committee. And if it's too much today to talk about, maybe you could send to Muriel, one, A, B, C, and D, what we had to do.
You know what? This is a topic for me that has always been of great interest, even before politics, because we certainly, guaranteed incomes have been discussed years over years over years.
Mhm.
I used to be the chair of the advisory council on the status of women years ago in
Yes.
New Brunswick. And we had done some research back then with respect to guaranteed incomes and kind of the benefits and having that gender lens on it, but never with respect to people with disabilities. When it
Mhm.
comes to having a guaranteed income for everyone, I'm not saying that
Oh,
I'm against
I
it.
have to excuse myself for a minute. I'm sorry. Muriel will carry the ball when I step out for a second.
Absolutely. But we had seen some research, Muriel and Caitlin, back then that I had seen that were saying that sometimes having a guaranteed income for women without disabilities could sometimes be a bit of an obstacle for them because people would tend to stay home as opposed to really continuing their work in the workforce. So there was kind of differing points of view there when we looked at the feminine lens, the feminist lens. But all that being said, when it comes to people with disabilities, to have to move this forward, I think good on you, because I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And I think that what would be very useful if you are able to appear before the HUMA committee, or even the finance committee is the other one as well that I would suggest, because at the end of the day, HUMA certainly looks at this, this issue, but who ultimately makes the decision is not HUMA, it's the finance department.
Okay.
So to me, shoot for the stars. If you're going to be appearing before a parliamentary committee, my advice to you would be to first of all do that. The other thing as well that I would probably suggest is to speak to someone from the Department of Finance. Now, you probably won't be able to speak to the minister because you can just imagine how many people are trying to lobby her. She's like the most lobbied minister on the Hill. And she's very accessible, I have to tell you. It's not because she's trying to, but there's not enough hours in the day. But who you may be able to speak to, and especially because you're from the Atlantic provinces, you may be able to even get a meeting with the parliamentary secretary for the Minister of Finance, who is an MP in Nova Scotia, and Sean, oh my God, Fraser, thank you. I'm having a brain fart here. So Sean Fraser is the parliamentary secretary, and he may be able, and especially right now during this Zoom process, he may be able, to give you a half hour and you'd be able to make, the pitch to him. Because I'm thinking, as I said, if you're going to appear before a parliamentary committee, shoot for the stars. And as I said, finance is the powerful committee here. They are the ones that will do the pre-budget consultations. And then from there, they're going to decide who they're going to meet with. And I know when I was in the finance department, oftentimes we would try to look at groups that we've never heard from either, because oftentimes it's always the same people that appear before the committees because they know how to get there. They know who to contact.
Yes.
Chances are you probably won't get there this year because we're late in the game, but you got to start now for next year. You really, really do.
Yes.
And I truly believe that if you want to, I don't even mind reaching out to Sean for you to see if he would.
Please.
I would do that. And Jake is writing it down. So to tell me to follow up next week, but I'd be more than happy to do that because I think that maybe Sean as well would be able to provide you with some insight, but that is number one. Number two, if you appear before the parliamentary committee, don't worry about the theoretical and the research part of it. We hear that from academics all the time.
Okay.
They're going to get the academics there, but sometimes just the real life stories as
Okay.
to how that would change your life, that really helps. And you think that maybe that parliamentarians know all this stuff, and no, I mean, that's, to me, when I'm hearing testimony, that's really what resonates with me.
So I just have a question to interject there, Ginette. So hearing personal stories and hearing from maybe some people that would come, and the whole world right now because of COVID is virtually, I'm sure even a period before that committee,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Personal stories. Do you really think does that move members of parliament and people sitting on committees? And truly?
I feel too that that's what they need to hear, that how would this impact my life if this, like, for example, I used to work all the time. I used to work for ExxonMobil, and I was no longer able to work there because of the extreme stress that we had to deal with. My doctors didn't want me to work there anymore. So I'm on their insurance. So this to me is something that is quite precious to me, because I don't want to have to go to income assistance. So, but I would still be able to do something, just not ExxonMobil high stress, that gives me more pain. And if something like this did exist, maybe it would give me the freedom to say, okay, well, you know what, Exxon, bye bye. I'm just gonna cut the ties. And I would know that that's there for me. If And that would allow me to do more. And I'm not the only one in that type of situation.
Now, Muriel and myself, not without our lives are different. We kind of both have a disability. Muriel's is different than mine. Mine, at the age of 30, long story, took me to Toronto after years of struggling, and I was diagnosed with learning disabilities in the attention area, and later on ADHD. But I've been very fortunate and very lucky because I have a big mouth, and I'm able to fight for things, that I've been lucky to have some good jobs in life. But there was also the struggling times. But I'll tell you, our board and our stakeholders who we represent in the province, and I'm sure it's no different right across the country with stories of persons with disabilities. Do you realize New Brunswick, most people with disabilities live way below the poverty line? And I mean, maybe not until you get to Quebec do they make a little bit more money on social assistance. And yes, depending on meeting things, the various supports that you could get, extra supports you could get. But persons with disabilities are really struggling, not only in the province but in Canada. So that's why I have to say I've met personally the Prime Minister, but I was very disappointed in his comments saying it wasn't a priority. And I understand that you and the government with COVID have a lot right now, and everything that's going on in the country. But in my opinion, things don't just stop. And people, even with COVID with disabilities, are struggling even more because they're have to put more money out. So guaranteed income is so vital.
I think with respect to the Prime Minister's comments, though, and again, I didn't fully hear his comments that he made, but maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I am. But I think his comments with respect to a nationalized guaranteed income program is probably what specifically the dude was talking about. I haven't heard that with persons with disability is completely is off. I haven't heard any specifics about it, though. But in the throne speech, we've heard specifically about people with disabilities.
Yes.
So that, but a lot of people are lobbying government right now to move forward with a national program. And
Mhm.
at this point in time, the structural deficits that we're facing, I'm just not sure that that is the priority for a national program. And I'm being very candid with you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different programs that we're competing with right now. We've got pharmacare that we want to move forward with, which again there's going to be a big structural deficit as a result of that. But again, I think it's really needed. When we look at a guaranteed income, again, I think there's a lot of benefits to that. But with respect to a guaranteed income nationally, is that something that we can do right away, starting to negotiate with all the provinces and territories? That is just, I think the Prime Minister in his comments knows that the priority right now needs to be not even COVID recovery. It's just dealing with the pandemic right now. The next phase is the recovery. And negotiating with provinces to start a whole new program, getting rid of, and that means like getting rid of old age security, income assistance. It means getting rid of EI. Like it's blowing everything up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be candid. I can see that for the Prime Minister right now, blowing all our social programs up.
No, I didn't know that was a blob and blowing. I don't think a Canadian would want that to happen.
But if you look at a national program, you know what I mean? Like that's really what it entails, because if you're going to have a guaranteed income, it means that all of those other programs are really not going to be on the table. We would have one program.
Mm.
So there's a lot of thought that needs to be put in that. I know that we had the CERB benefit that came out during the pandemic, the $2,000 a month, and everyone said, well, if you can do it that quickly, you can certainly do a guaranteed income program. Let's be frank. We did it quickly, yes. Was it perfect? No. And now we have to deal with the imperfections of the program. But with respect to your pitch, I think that you're very wise that you're focusing on a target, small, vulnerable group.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that is really, if I were you, if I was on your board, if I was appearing before the committee, that would be my focus, is with respect to your specific group.
Absolutely. That's who we are speaking for.
Yes.
But I think the Prime Minister, when he hears guaranteed income, you know what I mean? You think of the
Right.
big program.
He's seen the big picture, like you were just talking about, Ginette.
Yeah, and blowing things up right
It's
now.
almost like if someone said you have to make some change in the Canadian Constitution. Well, you have to open up the whole Constitution, and I understand that.
Yeah, but with respect, so coming back to your part though, if you're going to appear before committee, if you can even get your spot there, to your point, Brent, do you think that personal stories? Yes, they do. I think they need to be coordinated. You have to make sure that you have the right people saying the stories, and I don't know what that looks like. That'll be your homework to do.
No.
But when you appear before a parliamentary committee, there's usually 2 or 3 witnesses, probably 3 witnesses that appear within a panel. And everyone has 10 minutes to do opening statements, and then you can do your pitch there. But again, sometimes I find people get too technical and we kind of lose the essence. So to me, sometimes storytelling, you can do a bit of the facts and stuff. I mean, if you say that a person with disability in New Brunswick gets $567 a month, just if that that used to be.
I apologize. I could have more accurate figures on that. I don't have it in front of me, but I do have that.
Yeah, but when I was frontline, it was $567. I'm sure it's changed by now, but when you give those hard, those are facts. But when you talk about the median rent level here in the province and kind of what it costs, I mean, you can quickly do a story like, how can anyone live on that? You know what I mean? Affordability is a huge issue. And to me, you talk about all of your priorities, they all go hand in hand. Affordable rent. I mean, we know that in Moncton, we get, hundreds of phone calls with respect to that.
Yes.
I bet.
Yes.
Transportation, you know what I mean? Again, we're looking at, our bus system is being, turfed right now.
Yes.
Our interprovincial bus system. So these are all things that kind of contribute to the challenges that you're faced with. But again, if you have the opportunity to appear before the committee, you can certainly, talk about that, and I think make it real life, because not everyone is aware of that. Sometimes you take it for granted that people understand these challenges. you understand them because you live them or know of people who live with them.
Perfect.
It's important to kind of, to make sure that people feel it. And I always tell groups that I meet with, and Jake hears me say this all the time, but do not minimize the work that you're doing with meeting members of parliament like we're doing today, because you're educating us, you're putting these issues on our radar. And then from there, when we're having conversations with our colleagues, we're going to bring up these conversations and saying, hey, do you know about this group? And these are their priorities. So it's really, really important. Like this work that you're starting, it's like a snowball, it's going to get bigger and bigger. So
That leads me to something else to ask you if you're okay with it. We have done this with other members of parliament and others that we have met with. We met with a number, each a candidate from each of the provincial parties during the election. Do you have any problem with us posting this on our Facebook page?
no.
Okay, perfect.
I have,
Perfect.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Muriel.
I have a question about grants. I was wondering if you know of any types of grants that a startup coalition like us could apply for, either to help our people, like with training. A big thing with us is that
Well, maybe we should tell her what we're thinking in that era, Muriel.
yeah, we want to lift up people that they can, like Caitlin, speak up. A lot of people, they're afraid to speak up. We want to try to bring that self-confidence to the surface so that they can self-advocate for themselves. We are looking at training for that for some members. Like we're wondering,
Like workshops.
right? Yeah, workshops. We're wondering, would there be any federal grants or something like that, or even to have a coordinator for the coalition for the day-to-day administrative stuff, or for doing a membership program or stuff like that. Would you know of anything?
We can certainly do some research on that. And I'm looking at poor Jake here. He's got his, list. But have you guys even gone through PEDAL, the provincial organization, to see, because the Department of PEDAL really provides an awful lot of services.
They do. They
kind
do.
of in that area.
So we could write to them probably.
Yeah, I would really get in touch with them, because they offer an awful lot of training to people that are looking for employment or providing them with skills for employability. I know we refer a lot of people to that department. They receive a lot of federal funding as well. But I think that's really where I would start. And then from there, if there's anything that we can come up with, we'll let you know. But I really can't tell you offhand of any pool of funds that's available.
Thank you. Jake just sent us a link. So I will definitely look into that.
Perfect, because that's we're finding a lot of people that are our stakeholders. I mean, Caitlin's been very active and she's one of our directors, but there's so many that are just persons with disabilities out there that have compounded other issues they're dealing with and things. And if they could get help, or they could be given a boost, their life could change and they could contribute more to society. So we want to also, as a coalition, to do something for those that are struggling. Like Muriel and myself and others that are on the board are all people used to advocating and used to speaking up for ourselves. But so many persons out there, they don't have those skills.
And not, no, vas-y, Muriel.
No, I just wanted to ask about, it's a completely different subject, Bill C7. Is there a timeline on that, on when? Quite truthfully, I'm not sure where it's at right now.
You know what, Jake, can you do a quick lookup for me on that?
We had heard that it's gone from the House to the Senate. I don't know if that's the case, Ginette.
And again, we're just going to look it up right now. How's that?
Yeah, perfect.
I'm trying not to give my opinion on it.
You're doing a good job, Muriel.
Am I? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So the Bill C7 is in the second reading in the Senate as of December 17th.
Yes, second reading. That's
So,
what I thought.
so
And
that,
how it works, I believe, in the Senate will look what has been presented to them, decide if changes are needed, or if they could support it, and then it gets sent back to the House of Commons, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I
So
just want to make,
Muriel, maybe Ginette needs to know, not with too graphic, but maybe she needs a little bit, and you're not, we find that, you know, 2 or 3 of us that are involved, we're all maybe on the same plane regarding this, but we have some, maybe, you know, not a lot giving numbers that, you
yeah,
know, they think, okay, maybe we, you know, I support this because they're struggling, but it's just because they're struggling, they're tired of fighting.
Mhm.
And that's not enough reason because you're tired of fighting to decide something like what Bill C7 is going to do, especially in particular persons with disabilities.
I will tell you, I am squarely against.
Mhm.
I've lived with a disability all my life and I've had a lot of struggles. I'm in a wheelchair. It's hard to tell, I guess. I just feel that, and it's a very deep subject. I just feel that
You're doing good.
doing this, you are telling people with disabilities that maybe your life is not worth living. And quite frankly, I think before giving people the right to die, you need to give them the right to live. And I don't feel that a lot of people with disabilities right now have the right to live because they don't
Of
have
things they're
what,
struggling with.
yes, they don't have what is required to live a good life. And to give them that option without giving them an option to live a full and rich life, I don't think it's right. I don't like the message that it gives. And that is my opinion
and
because I know of other people on in our coalition that have a different opinion completely. So I just like to say that is my opinion.
I appreciate that, Muriel. And again, we certainly know that Bill C7, medically assistance in dying, is a very personal, private, and delicate conversation, even amongst ourselves as caucus members. I mean, we passed the bill last Parliament, and now we're finding ourselves again because it's gone to the courts. And again, it's important to take the time that we get this right. I know that the last time in the last Parliament, we had said we were going to study 3 specific issues with respect to the issue of advanced consent, the issue of people that suffer from severe mental health, and also youth. I mean, they're just tough conversations to have.
So
And
I have a question for you, Ginette, and it's similar to what I asked MP Wayne Long about the guaranteed income and the committee. I have a question. A coalition like ourselves, representing persons with disabilities, what can we do at this point when it's going to second read in the Senate to have our say or let our feelings be known where we stand on a bill like this?
well, I think again, you can reach out to your members of parliament, again, like you're doing today, you know, and making sure that caucus members, caucus chair people at the provincial level, like you mentioned, Pat Finnegan, you can certainly write a letter to make sure that we all get the information, to make sure that you share your, you know, your
But is
points.
it too late?
It's never too late. I mean, it's never too late. The Senate is going to be passing, you know, is taking their time to make sure that they
And we could send a letter to the head of the Senate as well?
we can absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got
Okay.
senators that you can
Okay.
write to as well. So
Okay. Now, like my personal opinion, someone with ALS with no hope, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible thing. Their pain, their struggle, and there's no matter what people would do to kind of maybe help a person with ALS. Maybe, deep down after some soul searching, I could see maybe someone like that making a decision.
They have a foreseeable, someone with ALS as a foreseeable end.
Hmm.
They know approximately the difference. There's a big difference between different types of disabilities. Huge.
But then we think of the people with disabilities because they're tired of fighting for 2 cents, or they're fighting for that drive to go to medical appointments, or they're struggling to feed themselves. What if they use that bill to make a decision about their lives instead of finding out what's out there? That's our concern.
Yeah, and
That's
again,
our concern.
and I completely appreciate it. And again, as I said, I mean, this is not an easy topic at all. You know, what I
No,
mean? It's,
no.
Sorry.
and I think Miguel who said it's heavy. It's really heavy, and that's why that we have to make, as legislators, trying to make the thoughtful decisions that respect, the rules of the law, the Supreme Court, and the rest of it. It's not always an exact science. We thought we had a good law last time, but again, the courts told us you have to look into this again, and that's exactly what we've done. But again, it's important to hear your voices, your opinions, your personal opinions, Midian, just like the coalitions. You know what I mean? If I don't know if there's a consensus, and I would be surprised if there was a consensus, because it's a delicate personal
And
matter.
I know Muriel very well. In the short period of time, she could have been a lot stronger and used probably different words and stuff and how she feels about this. But she's conducted herself very well, and same as people that feel like she does. So kudos to Muriel being able to professionally express her opinion.
And kudos to me for saying nothing.
Dusty for saying nothing, Caitlin.
How do you feel about it, Caitlin?
Yeah, you and I have similar beliefs.
But like we said,
Dead. Yeah.
there's a couple of people that are very involved in our coalition that maybe has a different opinion.
Yeah.
But I want to say, I think it's for the same reasons, just tired of some pain or tired of struggling and maybe being a single mom and having a disability, and that's concerning. I just don't understand how this bill got where it did. And we're people that have our ear to the ground on things.
There was surveys online, and I feel like a lot of people didn't know it was there. I tried to push the people to go and take the surveys, and a lot of people didn't know it was there.
Well, I can tell you, I've heard from a lot of constituents regarding this legislation, and there's different points of view. There really are. It's
Right
and,
now,
and a lot of people felt that we perhaps didn't even go far enough. So it's really, again, it's personal, it's delicate, and you do the best that you can when you're in these positions, for sure. But again, to your point, what can you do?
So even more so, it's important as a coalition to take away that pain from our stakeholders, persons with disabilities in the province of New Brunswick, which in turn is probably like every other province. We have to fight for things that are going to improve their lives, like having a decent income, having that affordable, accessible transportation, having the proper housing, to take it away so they're not so stressed that they can decide, I want to end my life. And that's our work. And we feel we're tired too. We're also people that have lives and that have struggles. And even with COVID, it's added extra stress, but I feel it's bigger than us to fight for the things that we're on behalf of who we're representing.
And if I could just say one thing too,
Sure,
I'm
Caitlin.
very grateful for this meeting, because
Yes.
I want to be around the table when decisions are being made. I don't want decisions being made for us. I want us to have an input.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way to finish this on a positive note. and
Yes.
Less of a depressing.
And
Oh,
kudos
thank
to
you very
Ginette
much.
for listening to us. And
Well,
I know,
No, if I can just say one thing, no decisions for you without you is truly important. And
Yeah,
when I heard
perfect.
that phrase, it stayed with me forever, like it stays with me. And it's absolutely important, Caitlin, and you folks to be around the table when the decisions are being made about you.
Nothing about
Yes.
us without.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's perfect. I think that's a good note to end on, Ginette.
That's it. Listen, I really want to take a moment to thank you guys for sharing with me your thoughts, your ideas. And again, I think that your priorities are bang on, having worked with many people with disabilities in my previous life, and still meet with a lot of people with disabilities that come and meet with me for different matters in Ottawa and in my writing. I always appreciate the time that you invest with me as well.
And
Because
can I ask, like I asked for all people that either running for office or does hold an office, can you please bring this to your colleagues and everything about meeting with us and what you heard today and your thoughts, and including to the Prime Minister if when you have an opportunity to do so.
Well, what I promise that I'm going to do, I can't tell you it's going to be this week, but next week
No.
sometime, we're going to actually post this picture and also to share with everyone that we've had this
Wonderful.
conversation and what your
Wonderful.
priorities are. We can do that for sure.
That's very.
Wonderful.
We'll bring it up at my caucus meeting as well next week. We're starting our regular caucus meetings again.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And I'll tell Wayne Long that we've met as well, so he'll know.
Okay.
Listen,
Thank
have a
you,
great
Ginette.
weekend.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you very much.
Thank you and have a great weekend and thanks for your continued work. Okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ginette. Bye.
Bye. Jake.
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
I thought maybe Brent was gonna stay, so I didn't end meeting for all. I thought-
Oh,
I thought
okay.
He would stay, but no, he disappeared. I just want